get this recording started. There we go. Welcome, everybody. We've got Kara in the UK. Well, good. So it's actually a decent hour for you there. It's just late afternoon, so not the middle of the night the way some of our things turn out to be. Welcome, 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 welcome to everybody. And Susan's here from British Columbia. It is early in British Columbia. So we've got lots of representatives here. And I'll tell you what, I know that we always have people who ask about the where the warm-up is. And today I am actually prepared in this regard. I mean, I'm prepared in other ways, but I'm prepared with this. So if you haven't found the PDF yet, let me make sure I get this in the chat properly. All panelists and attendees, that's who you want to send your message to. And that's who I want to send my message to. PDF is here. Boom, there's the link to the PDF if you haven't gotten it already. So welcome, welcome, welcome to a wonderful Friday here on our 4th of July weekend. So we're, a day early, being July 3rd, but this is good. So hopefully you all have wonderful weekends planned. Nancy's here from New York City, and welcome to you too, Nancy. I took your job today. Well, actually, I decided not to make you work, and I got the PDF link myself today for a change. So it's all posted. All right, so this is the final warm-up with a focus, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about this in a minute, but our live warm-ups are going to take sort of a summer hiatus because it would be nice to be able to get outside. I know I look forward to these warm-ups too, and I know that you guys do, because after all, you're here. But I do want to make sure that we get a break and move things around, and gives me a chance to come up with some new things for you. But I do have an opportunity for you for a couple extra live workshops in July, and I'll be telling you about those in just a little bit. I want to get on with our warm-up for today. So we've been going through the 5 focus areas that I talk about in Kaleidoscope Practice, and those are detail, expression, continuity, control, and today we talk about connection. So these are the areas, once again, that I think are so important for us to well, they're absolutely necessary for playing a piece well. They're important in your practice because if you don't consider one of these, you will likely end up not being able to finish your piece and play it the way you really want to. So they're all important. And as you recall, we've been saying that, detail, that's the easy one. That's the one we all focus on in our practice most. It's the one where we worry about the fingering and the notes and the rhythms and all the important things that really go into playing, the stuff that we have to do. But there are also details of expression, details of just all the markings on the page and making sure that we understand them all. And then expression itself, going so far beyond dynamics to think about phrasing, about tone, about articulation, all the different aspects of expression that come into play. Continuity, the flow of a piece, so that it sounds like that, continuous, I mean, assuming it's supposed to sound that way, but it sounds like one musical idea that you are expressing, and that, it doesn't have, that it has that sense of unity and cohesion that you're looking for from a piece. There's also control, not just in terms of physical control, but in terms of mental control, focus control, stamina, control of the tempo, control of the dynamics. And that's what we talked about last week when we worked. We were working on transitions too, as you recall. This week is about connection. And I originally had thought we didn't need a warm-up for connection because connection is the furthest removed from the nuts and bolts of playing. If detail is all about the nuts and bolts, connection is not about any nuts or bolts. It's about the big picture. And there are 2 kinds of connection. There's the connection that I call the external connection, which is sort of fitting your piece into, well, I shouldn't say fitting it into a place or a box, because that's not really what I mean. What I mean is connecting with the piece in a way that would allow somebody else to understand your piece better. For instance, what do we know about the composer? What does the title mean? What is significant about this piece, either in terms of what it is supposed to represent or its musical idea, any number of things. And we can talk about those as we get a little bit more into that. And then there is the internal connection, which is so important. And what's interesting about this is that it's where we all start, and yet it's the first thing that we often abandon. At the same time, it's the most important thing. So what is internal connection? It's the way you feel about your piece, the way that piece makes you feel, the way you want a listener to feel about it. It's all about the heart, the soul of the music, and your own individuality, your own creativity, your own personality, and how that comes through in your playing in general and in that piece in particular. It's about how you connect to the piece and how you want someone else to connect it. So or connect to it rather. So whereas the external part of connection is more cerebral, perhaps, more factual or more concrete, the internal connection is all the mushy stuff. It's all about feeling, and it goes so far beyond expression. Expression is sort of part of how you do that, but the internal connection is really about the music, not the notes. It's not even about the dynamics or about how you play it. It's about that mysterious being that music is, and the absolute wonderful way in which it connects to human beings. So I know it seems like a lot to talk about in a warm-up, but I'll show you what I mean, and we'll have some fun with it today, I promise. So in the meantime, there's this little warm-up pattern. So let's get our fingers going before we dive into that. All right, so here we are. Let's just we didn't do this last week. Let me kind of get a little bit closer to the microphone there. So we didn't warm up with a scale last week, and it's probably a good idea if we do it today. So how about on middle C? I'm just in C major, the way we'll be for the warm-up, and just some fourth fingers. Remember, this is a great time to check your posture, to make sure you're sitting properly, your feet flat on the floor. Don't have your head twisted the way I do, just nice and straight ahead. This is not the best sound for this string today. It's a little humid. And even though I have the dehumidifier going, the string is not at its best. But my fourth finger is nice and relaxed, closing all the way into my hand. Okay, all right. How about if we do some third finger? Make sure your arm is supporting your hand is comfortable and relaxed. Be sure also that your hand didn't change position, right? When you played your fourth finger, or when you played your third finger, your hand shouldn't need to move. It should be in the same spot. All right. How about some second? Well, that was a nice buzz, wasn't it? Just a slow placing. You shouldn't have done that. Let's try some second finger. Here we go. Once again, your hand doesn't change position. Here we go. Nice. Nice and relaxed, sitting straight. Your shoulders are down, not hunched. Okay, put your fingers back on and let's do some thumbs. I was working with a student earlier this week, and we were talking about how your thumb needs to move from that back joint where it connects to your wrist, not just a little puny motion from the top, right? All right. And you know, because I've been working so much with scales lately, let's put your thumb on. Put your fourth finger on the G so that this is like a cross under that you would do in the scale. And let's just play thumb and fourth finger back and forth. Just thumb and fourth finger. Closing your thumb, closing your fourth finger, keeping your arm steady, making sure your hand doesn't wobble. Don't keep the tension in your hand, just support from your arm. There you go. Nice, huh? All right, well, how about if we turn that into a scale? All right, let's go back to middle C, and we'll do just a 1-octave scale, just right hand up and down. And then we'll work on some left hand. All right, here we go. Ready? Go. See, you had that cross under all warmed up. Turn around, let's go back down. You're all ready for that crossover too. All right, maybe we should do that one more time. I am, you know, queen of one more time, right? Okay, let's do it again. Here we go. Ready? Go. And that crossover. Excellent. All right, let's warm up some left hand. Fourth fingers by themselves. I'm an octave lower now. All right. My noisy fourth finger, goodness. There we go. Make sure that shoulder stays down, right? Don't hunch the shoulder up. Keep your shoulder relaxed. Be sure your fourth finger closes all the way. Ugh, that's all right. I'll work on that callus a little bit later. Oh, there we go. All right. Third finger. Oh, take that fourth finger off. Once again, your hand should have stayed in the same place and not moved just because your fourth finger wasn't on. If your hand was centered properly over the strings to start with, you didn't need to move it. Left hand third finger, that's the weak one, isn't it? It is for most people. Just close it all the way. Relax your shoulder, support with your arm. All right, how about some second finger? Oops. If you want to check to make sure you're still sitting straight, reach your right hand around, put that on the strings too. Your posture shouldn't have changed, right? All right, those fingers back on. We'll do some thumbs. Close it all the way over. Move it from that very back joint there. All right, oh, that's a nice sounding string today. Okay, how about a 4 and a 1? We'll do our crossovers. So your thumb on the F, your fourth finger on the G. Okay, here we go. So thumb and fourth finger. See if you can make them sound equal. Those didn't. That's better. My fourth finger sounded a little bit weak. Your thumb might sound weak. You might have two beautiful sounding fingers, which is great. But see if you can make them sound the same. My fourth finger is not getting the same sound. Part of it's going to be due to the string, because these strings don't sound the same. But it's something I would work a little bit on myself. All right, let's do that 1 octave scale. You ready? Okay, ready? Go. Cross under. Turn around. Cross over. Close those fingers. Good. And we'll do it one more time. Here we go. Ready? Go. Cross under. Replace. Keep your arms steady so that your hand can be steady. That's the point. Cross over. Oh, goodness. Okay, that D's not quite in tune. Let's fix that. Reach over here. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Now, this warm-up pattern. It's what is the point of this particular pattern? It's the fact that you're doing, goodness gracious, I had tuned that. I'm so sorry. I tuned right before we started, but it's a little bit humid today. So, whoops, there's the right note. It's about different finger combinations, and it's about turning your fingers around. Just Not a scale pattern, not an arpeggio pattern, just sort of unpredictable patterns. What is predictable about this is the thing that you use for the various intervals. So when you've got, seconds or thirds, fourths, sometimes you're using 1 and 2. Fourths, fifths, sixths, you're going to use 1 and 3. Sevenths and octaves, 1 and 4. So the size of the interval and the fingering you use for it is totally predictable. Of course, what I did with this particular warm-up when I wrote it, the right hand for the first half, the left hand for the second half are the same. So each hand gets a chance at the same twisty kind of melody. The right hand chords in the second half are ever so slightly different, just because it sounded better. So, but they're the same harmonies. So let's start with just the right hand in the beginning. You don't have to place too many fingers at once. I probably wouldn't start with all 4 fingers on. I probably would just start with 2 and 4 and then place this way. And why? Because the rule of placing is to, in general, not place around the corner. You're going to place everything that is in one direction. Then you can set ahead for everything that comes as you are headed in the next direction, right? So if you're headed up, you can place all the notes that go up, but in general, you won't place notes that are going to go down later. So just place in one direction at a time would be the general rule. There are exceptions, but that's pretty much the case. So let's try just right hand from the beginning by itself here. About 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. If you connect everything, you know what? On the half note, that's when you want to disconnect. That's when you want to raise. But everything up until a half note should be connected. And that will get you that nice phrasing that you're looking for from this melody. All right. So let's try it one more time. Right hand. Here we go. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, raise here. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. All right. Now we're going to have our left hand do the same thing. So we're going to go on to measure 9, which is just the next measure from where we stopped. And we will do just left hand, doing the same kind of thing. Your left hand might enjoy this because for a change, it gets to play the melody. All right, here we go then. Left hand. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Let's do that again, shall we? From measure 9, left hand. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, So that is the critical part. Now let's go back and we're going to put hands together. All right. Okay, let's see how we do. From the beginning, hands together. So 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of nice, yes? Now we'll play it again and then we'll work a little bit on connection. But are there questions you have about that first? Is there something that you would like to talk about with it before we give it another run through? So there's nothing very complicated about it, but what I like about a warm-up like this is that it gives you a chance to just sort of think about how your fingers are moving and closing, not a lot of notes, not like our big arpeggios that we had last week. Very few notes, a very small scale. You know, everything's in a small area of the harp, which can be fun to do sometimes. There are other times we want to be sure we're testing our knowledge of harp geography and our comfort with that, but not so much this time. What this is about is just gently moving your fingers. So let me see, I'm headed over here to the chat, but I don't see any comments coming in, which is fine. So what we will do is head right on over and we'll do it again, okay? And then we'll get to some connection stuff. Let's play it one more time. Oops, there we go. It's fun. Okay, well, that's what I like, Priscilla. I like things that are fun. So let's do this again, shall we? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. All right, good. Oh, we do have a couple of things that came in, which is good. Let's see. What did you say? I'm reading both hands. Reading both hands. I get it. Slows you down. All right. Any suggestions for improving that skill? Yeah. Well, the first one is the unhelpful suggestion. I mean, it's one of the right ones, but that is just keep doing it. Keep doing it. But we'll talk more about that in just a moment, I promise. What chord, let's see, Anne asks, what chord is the third beat in measure 14? Creates tension. Well, yeah, that's what dissonance is. Dissonance creates tension. In measure 14, it's the same chord, believe it or not, that, that we have at the end of measure 6. What's interesting to me is that the one in measure 14 created tension for you, but not so much the one in measure 6. And that's because it's in chord, but it's in a different inversion. So it is a C major 7th chord, is what it is, a C major 7th chord. It's a, you know, it's a lovely little chord. And when it's up here, here it is. What happens here is that the 7th itself doesn't resolve. The 7th is in the top note here. It's the B. Here it's in the middle, and we hear it resolve to the A. Here it actually doesn't resolve properly. It resolves in a different voice. We hear it move up from that 7th. So we get the sense of creating tension without the most logical release, the downward release of tension. It should always go down. So, but that's only in the 18th century. So beyond that, we're okay. So, but it's a C major 7th that goes to an F chord. The first time it actually goes to a D minor chord, a D minor 7. But here there's nothing to tell you it's a D minor 7. I could have done this, but I didn't like having the 7th there. So didn't quite work the way I wanted it there, so I changed the chord. So it's mine. I can do that. Let's see. Jean says, I tend to forget correct fingers with the left hand. I play 1 and 3 for most of the left hand. Well, yeah. It's funny. This was occurring to me while I was writing it, and this is one of the reasons this is a good exercise. Harpists, you know, when we learn from the very beginning, we learn kind of the way beginning pianists do, and we learn a couple of fingers. We learn 2 fingers at a time. You know, we learn 1 finger at a time. Then we learn 2 fingers at a time. Then we learn 3-finger chords. And 4-finger chords are so much more difficult than 3-finger chords that it takes us a while to get to them. And in the meanwhile, if you haven't followed a very careful program of developing your technique, you've come to rely so much in your left hand, particularly on 1 and 3, that 4th finger never develops the strength, the agility, or the comfort level that it should. You know, and you end up playing a lot with 6 fingers instead of with 8. I mean, it's too bad we can't use our pinkies, right? So we're limited to 8 fingers anyway. So not having the comfort level with your 4th finger is really a stumbling block. So that's why even I mean, this happened to me the last time through. It was like, oh, I can play that 7th with 1 and 3. But I switched my fingering at the last moment to really get there with 1 and 4, because getting that practice, getting that, the ease of switching between 3 and 4 and the equal flexibility in both those fingers is so important. So it's really, really critical that when in an exercise like this, or like any exercise, when it calls for 4th finger, use your 4th finger. If you don't use it, you know, you won't develop it, and you won't have it when you need it. So please do that. It's very, very typical. But let's see. Moving the left hand 4 to 3 in the last measure is surprisingly awkward. Well, they're usually not very strong fingers in a melodic sense, so that's not surprising. That's not the case in playing the scale. That's not the case in playing the scale. Unanchored issue? Well, sure, of course, right? They're playing by themselves, and they're playing, you know, they're playing a melody that in the way that we don't ask them to do. And of course, your right hand's doing something different at the same time. So there are lots of little reasons that can be. So when it comes to developing your skill at reading and playing both hands together, there are a number of sort of ways to step into that, but the really best way to do it is to be very organized in your reading and to be very careful with it, so that you're looking ahead and you're going slowly enough that your tempo is steady. You're not using hesitations as you play. I know you can't do that while we're working together, right? Because you're taking my tempo. But if you take a very slow tempo that allows you to get to everything that you need to at the proper time, even if that tempo is really slow, that will help you develop the coordination that you need for reading both hands at the same time. If you keep sort of reading in fits and starts, you know, going through this part and then stopping for the left hand and going through this part and stopping for the next left hand chord, that won't really develop the coordination that you need in terms of reading. So you do really want to work at, some of the time, keep that tempo painfully slow if you have to, but so that you can get to everything at the right time. And that will help you pull together the coordination that you need. Okay. All right. Let's see. A couple of years ago, says, is this Linda? I think so. The little blue names are small. I should change my contact lenses before Friday and then I wouldn't have an issue. Okay, a couple of years ago, my fourth finger was injured, then splinted, then in therapy altogether for a year. I couldn't play using it for a long time. So this is a good way to get it back. Yeah, it is. It is. Any kind of, you'll find lots and lots of exercises and method books and all that sort of stuff, etude books that will just, they'll insist that you use 4 and 3 and 2 and your thumb, and it will really help getting the coordination back for that, for sure. Well, good for you. It's, takes determination to come back from being injured. You really have to sort of triple your efforts to make it work. All right, let's talk about connection for a second. You'll notice that I gave this little warm-up pattern a subtitle, right? I called it Souvenir. I just came up with a title for it. What we're going to do now is I want you to think about what souvenir might stand for in your own idea. Obviously we know what a souvenir is, but what might souvenir mean? And how might you personally connect to that? Is there a particular memory, a particular object that you would associate, a sort of a souvenir that, this sort of has a sentimentality to it, this little music. So I probably would pick something along those lines. And I don't need you to share what the souvenir is, but what I do need you to do, because you wouldn't do that necessarily in playing this for someone. What we do need to do is have that feeling that evokes in us, and have that with us as we play it, and use that to help us help us bring appropriate expression in all of its forms: dynamics, tone, articulation, tempo, all that stuff. Bring that to the piece so that our feeling about that souvenir and this piece of music, such as it is, so that feeling is what is communicated to a listener. Now, they might not hear the same thing. They might hear something totally different. They might hear a lullaby, except that, maybe they have the title Souvenir in front of them and it's going to be their own souvenir. That doesn't matter. The fact that they don't hear exactly what you're imagining isn't important. What is important is that your connection to the music, through whatever story you're telling yourself about it, will bring the emotional depth to the music, even to something this simple. And that's what makes the connection from a performer to a listener. That's how music speaks. If you don't let the music speak to you and let yourself speak into it, that music won't speak to somebody else. That's the power of that internal connection. Now, the external connection here, you could, a shorthand way to think about an external connection is anything that you could use for program notes. Something about the composer. Don't tell me anything about me because I don't need to hear it. But, this piece, you might say, is not that you'd play this on a recital, but go with me here for a second. Suppose you were playing the Moonlight Sonata. The Moonlight Sonata, it comes with a picture in the title, right? Moonlight. And you could talk about how the music represents some aspect of the moonlight to you. Beethoven never gave us that. Or you could talk about how this piece fit into Beethoven's catalog of works. or how old he was when he wrote it, where it was, where he was living at the time, what was happening in society at the time. All those kinds of things are sort of external connections, things that you know about the music that don't necessarily have anything to do with the music itself. But the internal connection is kind of a fun one. And you can experiment with this. I mean, I gave this a title Souvenir. What if we gave it the title Purple? How might you play it differently from if it had the title Yellow, or if it had the title Hot Pink, or if it had the title Black? You know, it might be dark and somber, it might be mysterious, might be, you know, who knows, right? If it had the title Hot Pink, it might be energized and vibrant. If it had the title Purple, it could be melancholy. If it had the title Yellow, it could be bright and sunny. So all of those things, you can see how that would help you bring musical color and feeling to what you were to. So let's go and let's talk about Souvenir. Okay, or I don't want to talk about it. I want you to think about it. Think about a souvenir, a memory. Think about, you know, something that you want to put into this music because the music and that memory will go together for you. Think about how that is, and let's play that. So I'm not going to change the tempo. I won't count because that's a little bit too pedantic, but we'll play it together. If we don't end together, that's okay, because nobody will hear it. What's important is that I want you to play it from that inner place, okay? So, and if you make a fingering mistake, this is not the time to worry about it. You would go and you'd fix that in your practice. So not to worry about that. Let's just go ahead and let's do that. So we're going to play Souvenir together, all right? But yet each in our own different way. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, now my question to you is this. Was it more fun to play this way? Were you able to bring more imagination to it? Do you think that what you played this time was something that would have intrigued a listener's imagination the way it fired your own? So let's see what you have to say about that. Let me read a couple other things that came in here. And says, I love the sweetness of this piece. I will use this in therapy hospice. Absolutely. And says, je me souviens. Yes, I remember. Okay. Well, that's on the license plates. Yeah, in Quebec. Absolutely. Where are we talking about? Yes. Okay. Well, multiple thoughts possible, but that's the whole point, right? You don't need to communicate your thought to somebody else. I mean, you want to communicate it, but they don't have to receive it the same way. They'll receive it in a way that's meaningful to them. So Darlene says, it was a creative approach to it, very expressive. All right. Yes, ideal. Love that. Lori says, yes, that was a really interesting thing to try. I found myself, seeing imagery as I played. Never had that happen before. Well, wouldn't it be fun if that happened more often when you played? Granted, this is a fairly simple thing to play in its way. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's a fairly simple thing to play. But played with that sort of depth and focus, and intent, it's a whole different experience, isn't it? Yeah. How cool that you saw things. Let's see. Marilyn says, glad you did this Connection Friday. It pulls more into a tune. Well, yes, there's always more you can pull into it. And you will find that as you practice connection and work at it a little bit more, you will always find another level. There is always another level or another direction that you can go. Right? So today, this title is Souvenir. What if tomorrow's title was Children at Play? How would you play it differently, right? You could, and there are plenty of pieces in the world that have no programmatic title, no inherent idea that they're, they sort of give you a basic tempo, and then you get to decide what the story of that piece is. And that story is what you'll be playing. Much more than just the notes, right? Okay. Debbie says, I found myself focusing more on the imagery rather than the notes. Yes, and doesn't that make it easier to play the notes? Makes it way easier. And wouldn't this be just a game changer as part of your practice regularly? Because when you can release yourself from those details, which is what we've been talking about for the last number of weeks, right? That detail is where we start focusing often, but it's often where we get stuck. And if you can release yourself from those details, not all the time, we need to practice them, we want to get them right. But when you practice letting go of them in order to play the music, you're working at both sides of the piece, the technical side and the expressive musical side, and you get to bring them together. And that's where the music happens, right? That's what we're looking for. So, and that's why it became important to me to include this Connection Friday, even though it's not something that's exactly a technical kind of thing to practice. It is an important thing to practice. So just it's so beautiful. Okay, well, good. That's what I was looking for. I'm so happy. Your comments made my day, because that's what I wanted to be sure you knew how to work on. We spend plenty of time working at technique and closing fingers and doing all this stuff that is important, because when those fundamentals are in place, then we have the skill we need to be able to bring our creative intention to what we're playing. Okay, now, that being said, here's what I wanted to talk to you about before. And you are very welcome, Linda, of course. So here's what I wanted to mention before. We are taking the live warm-ups on hiatus for the summer. So so we can all get a little bit of a break and get outside and do something. So I don't have a schedule for resuming those yet, but because those foundations are so important, I know many of you probably saw that I published a new course called 4 Weeks to Finger Freedom. And it's all about scales. It's about developing the proper fingerings, the proper mechanics. It's about developing speed. It's about developing flow, fluidity, musical expression, yes, in your scales. And it's about the independence of the hands, things that are so important for hands together playing. So it's not a huge course. And it's an incredibly cheap course at this point. For the 6 videos that are already part of that course, it's $25. So it's not a big deal. But since I've just offered this course, and because I hate missing our Fridays, what I am doing is, for everybody who has purchased that course, we're doing 2 live Fridays in July. 2 weeks from today, which would be the 17th, July 17th and July 24th, I'll be doing warm-ups and teaching on that course. At this time, like regular Friday live warm-ups, but just for people who have purchased that course. So if you have already purchased it, and I know a number of you have here, you will have 2 Friday lives. We'll work on those scales. I'll take your questions on the course. We'll work through some of the things of the course. We'll maybe tie it in with some kaleidoscope practice stuff. You never know. But we will do 2 Fridays on the 17th and the 24th of this month to just, as I said, because I'm going to miss you guys for a little bit. But because I really wanted to help supplement the course and work with the people who have purchased it already and make sure that they're getting everything they need to from the course. So if you have purchased the course, you will get invitations to those warm-ups. And then when we're ready to resume these warm-ups in whatever form and with whatever focus we resume them, we'll do that. So let's see, there's, oh gosh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that just came in that I missed. I've got to scroll back a little bit. Let's see. Okay, I saw that comment. We commented on that one. Oh, Darlene has started the scale course and she loves it. Thank you so much. Nancy says, this happened, I think she's talking about the imagery, and she says, this happened when I played Ubi Caritas softly on June 25th, and the violinist heard the chant as a lullaby. Yeah, that's right. Isn't that interesting? You know, our intention doesn't necessarily become music doesn't transfer exact ideas, but it transfers all the emotion behind that. And it's just one of the most incredible things. So yeah. Nancy says, can I sign up for the course outside of Harp Mastery? Yes, well, actually, yes, totally. It's a standalone course. If you go to, I'll find the link for you because I should be able to find it. I know where it is. And all this information will come out in your replay email too, but let me find it for you because I should be able to find it, right? So let's just see if I can come across it properly for you. It is right here. Actually, let me do this. Here is, uh-oh, where did you go? I have to get back to Zoom, can't find it. This is, I'm going to type it in here. This is a link to a page with all my various courses on it, at least the standalone courses. So you will find the 4 Weeks to Finger Freedom on that page, and you can get it there. And yes, it's totally separate from my Harp Mastery. So it's, oh, that link is not working. Hang on here. That link doesn't work. Ooh, I found a link that doesn't work. Okay. I'm going to give you this link as well, because I'm going to have to get on there and do that. I hate it when links don't work. All right, try this link instead, and that'll take you directly to the course. Okay, I'll have to get in there when we're done here and do this. Let's see. Here's this. Jean says she's purchased it and it is great. Thank you. Will you also post a replay? Yes, absolutely. So there's no question. There will be a replay of this video, the way we always have videos. The replay email will come out and all that stuff. So there'll be a replay of this, and then the replays of the 2 live things in July. Absolutely. So we will definitely do that. Oh, and I missed that one. She said, can I buy the course? Is it on your website? Yes, it is. There, we got the link. I missed your comment, but I answered your question anyway. So good. So yes, it's the 4 Weeks to Finger Freedom course is it. And the summer replays will stay up. The replay page will not stay up beyond next week, but the replays of all of these are available on YouTube. So all of these replays will be, if they're not already, available there. So you can see them all there. At least for now, for sure. So, but I do believe that you are probably able to download the replays if there's something particular you want to save. So I think that's there too. Oh yes, there you go. Lori has seen them on YouTube. Excellent. Nancy says, great, because I write notes, no space for a harp. Yeah, I know you have no space for a harp at the moment. You're stuck where you are. I know, so sad. Okay, so any questions about this? I'm so excited for you to try the connection stuff in your playing and your practice as you work at that. And I know you're excited about it too. I just loved reading your comments about this. And we will not be meeting at all next week. And for those of you who decide to opt in for the 4 Weeks to Finger Freedom course, we will be meeting the 2 Fridays after that, July 17th and 24th. So Nancy says, thank you so much for the warm-ups and the course. Oh, you are so welcome, Nancy. Thank you for being here and enjoying them. Priscilla, you're so welcome. It's so much fun to have you all here, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Enjoy your well-deserved time to, oh, well, I'm going to Harp Camp next week, so that's why there's absolutely no warm-up next week. I have 5 girls and a co-teacher, and we will be at Harp Camp in isolation in Harp Camp for a week. So that's my next week. You're great. Oh, thank you. Let's see. She says, thanks for your gracious help. Well, you are most welcome. Such a pleasure to be here. Harp Camp will be next week, playing warm-ups with a harp. Oh, yay, Nancy. Good for you. Wonderful. Okay. And Maris and Carol say thank you. And thanks to both of you. Miss you guys. All right. So let's be in touch. But thank you so much for doing all these warm-ups with me. I look forward to when we resume them for real. And we'll see what is in store. I'll cook up something for these warm-ups. We'll see what they turn into. And as well, I look forward to seeing those of you who are taking the scales course, and we'll work together there. All right, see you all very, very soon. And I look forward to. Oh, Cheryl says blessings from the Harp Desert. Oh my goodness, I know there are Harp deserts, and it's so sad, but we'll stay in touch, Cheryl. We'll keep it. Your desert doesn't have to isolate you, right? Because we're always here. So okay. Join us, and I'll look forward to seeing you all. Thank you so much for doing all these warm-ups with me. I love it. I look forward to talking to you all very soon, and I'll see you later. Okay, bye everybody.